Okay. I'm going to talk about this topic now, today, and then never mention it again. At least not in this much detail. That's what I said to myself, and this is me fulfilling that promise that I made to myself, I guess. I will probably still mention it occasionally if it comes up, say on Instagram, because I've been doing a lot of female empowerment stuff over there, and sort of like self-confidence journey stuff over there for women. So if you're interested in that, go over there. But like I said, in terms of talking about this specific topic, I didn't want to make it my entire personality, so I told myself, talk about it on the 1 year anniversary, in depth, get it all out in the open, and then put it to bed. Don't. This is it. And yeah, so I want this video to be helpful to somebody. I hope that it is, whether you are in the position that I was a year ago today and trying to find the courage to do what I did, or if you did find the courage and you're currently on this journey of healing like I've been for the past year. You know, I hope that something in this video can be beneficial to you. Going through an emotionally abusive relationship looks different to everyone. I'm going to share a little bit more in detail today about my personal experience, which I've never really done before, not at least in detail, because I feel safe enough now, a year on, to talk about this in more detail. And I'm also healed enough now to where I can structure out like kind of what I learned at different parts in this journey and hopefully help someone out there, as I say. So 1 year ago today, when this video goes up, it's currently the day before, which really this kind of encompassed kind of the night before, but then the actual day that this is uploaded a year ago today, I got on a train back to my childhood home, which signalled me escaping just over a year of being in an emotionally abusive relationship with a borderline alcoholic. I've never really talked about, as I say, in detail exactly what happened with my ex. I know we shared a little bit of our relationship in the beginning, kind of in 2021. The relationship spanned from June of 2021 to August 2022. So I was 20 when I met my ex, and then 21 when I left, and now I'm 22. Obviously, you guys can do the maths. I met him on a Discord server. If you guys don't know what Discord is, basically it's a sort of chat room type situation. People can make servers based on different topics, and then there's like, you can talk on video or just audio calls, and it's just it was made for the gaming community. But the one that I joined where I met my ex was a political one. At the time, I was it was around like the third lockdown. I met him in like March of 2021. And being 20 years old at the time, I was trying to find new friends. To be quite honest, at the time I had nobody, and I mean that in the literal sense, apart from like my parents, which I obviously live with, and like very occasionally talking to like my classmates at uni. I had no real friends because I'd basically done like a clean slate, wiped the slate clean. I'd been surrounded by not great people, so I'd basically kind of, as they wiped the slate clean, and I was looking for a new social life, and this Discord server definitely provided that for me. My ex, however, was able to love bomb and manipulate me because I was very vulnerable, more than I realised at the time. I had never been in a relationship. To this day, the only proper relationship I've ever been in was with my ex. Prior to the love bombing, I'd only really been kind of mistreated and disrespected by guys. I was very much the people pleaser type, so I was very easy to kind of walk all over, and I have great sympathy for me at that age, because if I'd been more aware of the red flags and kind of love bombing behaviour, and I'd not ignored kind of the amber flags in my ex's behaviour at the beginning, I don't think I would have had to go through what I went through, although I realised that I had to go through what I went through in order to be where I am now. So the reason why I was so easily manipulated was because my ex was kind of treating me well, which I'd never really experienced somebody being consistently nice and like paying a lot of attention to me and complimenting me loads and just showing me a lot of affection very full on, very quickly, which, as I say, I didn't really know was a red flag until it happened. And that's kind of my first thing, is that, yeah, if things feel off, if things feel like they're going too fast, that's because they are. And just be aware of that if you feel like that around somebody new. The alcohol didn't really come into it until about halfway through. Things with my ex, basically, upon hindsight, he only got with me because he needed an emotional support punching bag, essentially, which is what I ended up becoming. He needed somebody to look after him and to validate all of his shitty behaviour and erratic behaviour, very reckless, and he needed somebody to be there, because as you would say quite often, everybody leaves me, you might as well do it too, you might as well F off and leave me, which was something that I heard a lot, especially, as I say, deep into the relationship. The alcohol became a coping mechanism for what was going on in his life. As I say, things with his family he knew were going to start, and I was dragged into that and was just told, this is your life now. And that's exactly how I felt, and that was the mindset I was in, was very trapped, and that's kind of how I felt, was trapped. I didn't feel like I had any option outside. There was a very severe incident. If you guys remember, I made a vlog last summer where I went to London for a few days. That was triggered because of an incident where my ex had climbed through our bedroom window after going out on a night out with a mate, after saying he wasn't going to get too drunk and wasn't going to stay out that late, and then ended up coming back at like 1 AM after not being able to contact him. Climbed through our bedroom window, but thankfully not on my side of the bed. The most drunk I've ever seen him. I genuinely froze because I feared that he was going to do something on the physical side to me. Thank God he didn't. But he then started to scream at me to phone the ambulance to essentially get him sectioned, and this wasn't the first time the emergency services had been involved. He would try and get himself arrested. There was an incident after a night out, and I should stress, I only ever really went out with him as well, which I think added to why I was so easily trapped in the situation, because I didn't have any social life outside him, really. Yeah, the dynamic within my uni class had gone a bit weird, and I only really had one friend outside that, so he was, as I say, my entire social life. And there was an incident, again, where he got really drunk, and there was a police van outside my accommodation, and I was trying to get him inside to calm him down, essentially, because he was going off on one, and he essentially tried to go up to, like, the police van and be like, just take me, she's being a bitch. For real. That was kind of towards the end of the relationship, like the beginning of the end, where I was starting to get kind of really frustrated. I think my subconscious was starting to wake up to what I was putting up with, but again, the rest of me was just kind of trapped. This is your life now, you have no way out, this is the way your life is going. So I just kind of went on with it. And I was even engaged to him for 2 months, but when I moved in with him, the alcohol became an everyday thing, and the kind of rants of insecurity that would then turn into guilt tripping, because as much as he was like, you might as well F off and leave, because everyone else does, you deserve better, you can go find someone else to shag, you know. As soon as I would make any indication of being unhappy or wanting to leave, it was always, how could you leave me, don't you understand I'm going through XYZ, like, you can't leave. Especially when I was trying to help him out with the alcohol issues, I was trying to be gentle about it and be like, hey, maybe let's not drink so much, or maybe try an alternative. I was just immediately labelled as controlling, or like fun sponge, or like I don't see what the problem is. So yeah, the whole thing was gaslighting, guilt tripping, classic emotional abuse. But as I said, I didn't know at the time. I wasn't aware. I didn't have people around me going, this is emotional abuse, until I fully, I mean, granted, it wasn't until things got really bad and I was actually going to leave him that I fully told people what was going on, which I think if I told people fully what was going on, I think people would have woken up a little bit sooner and been like, maybe this is emotional abuse. Because as soon as I started to tell people, it was like, oh yeah, this isn't good. So just to give you a bit more of an insight as to exactly what happened, and exactly what I went through, because I know I've never actually said that publicly. And if anybody is going through a similar thing, then you know the signs now. And I would really recommend seeing the signs. If you want me to either make like a short or a reel just about like the signs, specifically like a list, you know, I can do that. But just to give you a bit more of an insight in terms of the detail as to what I actually went through, because as I said, I don't think I've ever actually mentioned that before. That's the basis of this story. So I got out of that relationship, I say, a year ago today, and I honestly didn't twig until kind of 3 p.m. this afternoon, and I looked at the date and was like, oh my god, yeah, tomorrow's the thing, I'm supposed to make a video. So hence it's like almost 10 o'clock at night and I'm making this video. Since then I've been on a journey, and this is where I want to share kind of the things I struggle with most at the beginning, the middle, and where I am now. So at the start, the main things that I struggled with, that I didn't even really realise that I would struggle with, was connecting with other people romantically. I went to an event in October. It was a pretty big event in Birmingham, and I met someone, ended up having a hookup, and I was not prepared mentally for being comfortable with somebody new. I thought I was until things actually started happening, and then my brain went, oh, remember all these, like, all the narratives you associate with your ex and this kind of thing? Let's have those hit you like a ton of bricks. So unfortunately I was quite awkward. I kind of went into my shell a little bit. Yes, I was consenting and I still enjoyed the experience, and I still feel like it was good for me to be with somebody else and just be held in a way that felt genuine for the first time ever. Because it never really did with my ex. Everything with him was just an act, basically. Everything was fake. But I think that experience in particular really highlighted for me that I really needed to start doing some conscious work, because I thought I was fine, and it turns out I really wasn't. So, and that is probably going to be the case for a lot of people. You may think you're fine, but then if you're going into something like with somebody you don't really know, it might be overwhelming, and it just might not be quite the experience you imagine. It might still feel good, and you might still think, yes, this is a good thing that I did, and you might, you know, you won't regret it necessarily. But for me personally, and I'm looking at my notes here from a journal that I wrote down, I just didn't really, as I say, when it came to it, my confidence just went completely out the window. I just didn't really feel very sexy, really, or very confident just in who I was. I had this sort of mask on and this kind of just like, just get on with it kind of mindset, like, you've got to do this because it'll be good, and as I say, I don't regret it, but I just felt a little bit like an outsider, like I didn't really fit in, like I'd just been kind of almost just reintegrated into society almost after being in this sort of cage for so long, I think is the best way I could describe it, and did really kind of have some quite low self-esteem. I really had lost myself, and the process of trying to rebuild that is kind of what I've been on for the past year. The second thing I want to mention is, and I didn't realise this was going to be a thing, because I knew my truth in me, I knew what I went through, and I knew the truth of the situation, the truth of who this person was, and how he was trying to manipulate everyone around him to believe that he wasn't like this, when in reality this is what I had to deal with, you know? And I made a video when I turned 22. The video of like things I learned when I was 21. I might leave that in the cards because I talk a lot. That's kind of the first time I talked a little bit in detail about what I went through. But I had a friend of my ex and an ex of my ex who he would talk about the entire relationship because she was physically abusive, and would make out like he hated her so much and just had anger towards her, and yet the moment we broke up he got back with her. And I had her in my comment section on that video. I deleted both of the comments, by the way, but basically they were calling me out, saying that I was abusive and that I was the manipulator, and again that I was controlling him and that I was really in the wrong. And that I wasn't expecting to affect me, but it did. I had, I guess, what was still left of the brainwashed person I was when I was with him be like, hang on, maybe you are the issue, like, because the part of the mindset was just believe everything this person says to be the truth. They can do no wrong. They are the victim at all times, and I think that was still kind of the tiny part of that mindset that still existed in my brain got activated seeing those comments, and I had to push down a lot of like doubting my truth and almost thinking that I was the problem when I had to remind myself, I was like, no, and I remember all this trauma you went through, do you remember everything you went through, do you remember everything people have been telling you about how this was not right? And I had to, as I say, really remind myself that that was the truth, that was the reality of it. Yeah, so dealing with some intrusive thoughts there. In terms of kind of the middle of my journey, moving on, when I really started to work on my self-esteem, and I'm going to make a whole video about this and talk about this way more over on my Instagram as well. As I say, I've been doing a lot of like self-confidence journey stuff over there. I started to really work on my self-confidence. You know, I started to listen to more music that made me feel good. I started to heal my inner child. I started to journal more and just really start to heal some wounds. And also I started to date as well, which was an exciting roller coaster of emotion, although ended in disappointment, as it's done a few times over this year. I'm gonna revert back to the short/reel I made about the Barbie movie, like the monologue in the Barbie movie that I made about the 3 types of men that come out when you call them out, you know? Because it's difficult to, when you're just finding your confidence to communicate boundaries and call people out for the first time ever and trying to really sort of heal the people-pleasing side of you, it's difficult to do that when it's falling on deaf ears, you know? But I've continued to learn from experience and, again, heal my inner child and really just not be bothered by that as much anymore. It's still annoying and it's still a problem, but it's a systemic problem that we've all got to band together and try and sort of help. You know, I can't help it on my own. I can try my best, but if it's going to fall on deaf ears, then that's their problem, not yours, hon. So, you know, that's really something that I've tried to ingrain into my head. And also dealing, as I say, with anxieties and any insecurities that come up, which is moving on to kind of where I am now, which my biggest insecurity at the moment, as I say, from the dating experiences that I've had this year that haven't exactly gone very well, is there's something in the back of my head, because as I said, the relationship with my ex is the only relationship I've ever been in, right? And there's something in the back of my head that likes to tell me, I wonder if you're ever going to find anyone who actually gives you affection and treats you well in a healthy way and isn't just doing it to manipulate you, because you haven't found that yet. The only guy who's actually accepted you as far as a relationship was doing it to trap you and manipulate you and was just doing it for their own gain and didn't actually give a shit about you at all. So that's just a little mental demon that I'm working through. But I'm currently doing a little bit of like an experiment, which I'm going to talk about in another video. It's going to be a whole separate discussion. But essentially God's put me on this journey because to try and fight that demon, you know, God heard the demon and went, no, we're going to put her on this journey so hopefully she can find out for herself that what the little lies that my brain's telling me is not true. But it is still something that I have to fight through, and it is kind of an insecurity for my inner teenage self, really. As I say, I'm always trying to work on that every single day, you know, no matter what comes up. But other than that, I can honestly say now that I am the most confident I've ever been. I'm the most comfortable in my own skin. And then my camera died, so I'm going to finish the video on my phone. But what I was going to say was, now I'm the most confident I've ever been. And as I've mentioned a few times in this video, over on my Instagram especially, I'm trying to use my knowledge and my experience and to help other people. I really feel a calling that that's what I'm meant to do in life, is to break quite a lot of stigmas that are based kind of in misogyny, quite honestly, and just to try and help more women do what I've done and heal and find their place within their feminine energy and kind of who they are and really be confident in how God made them, you know. So can honestly say, I mean, and as I said in this video, you know, I genuinely didn't realise that today was a year ago, and I'm trying to make a mental note of, like, I want to make this video on the 1 year anniversary of this happening, to really share my truth and share what I've learned, but I almost forgot, so that kind of says that I don't really think about it anymore. I've moved on past that. It's like that person isn't somebody that I associate with anymore, and I'm going to talk about this in a video that I'm going to make about starting on, like, your self-confidence journey. But I'm able to now say that's not me anymore. I've healed past that. As I say, I have great sympathy for what I went through, and realised that I had to go through all those things to be where I am now. As much as it's horrible and it's traumatic, and I'm still gonna hold that experience for the rest of my life, but I can't let it define me. And this is why I was saying, you know, I'm not gonna make this my entire personality. This video is kind of going to be the last time I really talk about this in depth, unless it comes up in a reel or something, fair enough, but, you know, I'm not going to keep on talking about it. I wanted to give myself a year to heal and to talk about my experience, but after that I was like, that is it. We move on, we are a better person, and that's where I am now. So yeah, as I say at the beginning, I hope this helps somebody. It's not easy for me to talk about this still, kind of, as much as it has got easier, it's still, especially when I talk about certain events that happened, it still brings up, like, I can still, like, it's almost like the flashbacks I get of just how scared I was at times, and how on edge, and how just really trapped and small I was made, in that relationship, and it's honestly quite scary to think about. I still get a bit of, like, a knot in my stomach, but as I say, I just don't, I've healed enough now to the point where I don't have to associate with that anymore. I can move on and I can think of the bright future, and I know that especially when I go on to date more people, I'm gonna have to deal with triggers. Like, for instance, I sometimes get kind of uncomfortable in situations, kind of in rough pub environments, or like places where people are kind of drunk and kind of acting a bit on, like, the rowdy side. If they're under the influence, I can get quite triggered about that. But I'm getting better at that, and I'm making sure my boundaries are known and heard and put in place. So yeah, I hope this helps somebody. As I say, it sucks, and I hope that if you're trying to find the strength to get out of that kind of relationship, that I really encourage you to find it in your heart to know there are better options for you out there. There is a brighter world. You can get out, you can escape, you just have to do it. And you don't even have to tell anybody, you can just pack a bag and go, and that is honestly what I did, really. So yeah, I hope this helps somebody and helps to spread awareness, because this kind of thing does need to be talked about more, and the awareness of, like, the red flags of being love bombed and just all that kind of thing. As I say, if you want me to make, like, a reel or a short about this, I can do, just to list kind of the warning signs. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video anyway. Hope it helped somebody, and if you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more of my videos. Also, make sure to follow me on all my social media. Name switch will be, as always, at the end of this video, and yeah, so that's my experience. I know my truth, and I will own it till the day I die, and here's to becoming the best version of ourselves. So, I'll see you guys in the next one.